Welcome to Mentoring Moments. Mentoring Moments is a sub-series of the eCommerce Edge podcast. It is composed of clips taken from Jason's one-to-one and group mentorship sessions. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I've got another incredible guest mentor lined up for you today to have a great conversation with. Welcome Danial Budai from Budai Media to the pod. Welcome, Danial.
Thanks for the nice introduction, and thanks everyone who is listening to us. And I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
My pleasure. Look, it's great to have you along for the ride today. And you specialize in an area that I do not. And that's what I love about doing this podcast, is getting people in to talk to me about things that I don't know a lot about, that I am absolutely not an expert in, areas where I can learn something, and hopefully by osmosis, my audience can also learn along the way. And you specialize in retention marketing. Now, this is a very particular area of digital marketing. It's a very particular subset of digital marketing, and it's something that I would say is not necessarily a common specialization, right? That's the thing. There's lots of people that specialize maybe in paid and performance marketing, or they specialize in email marketing or influencer marketing or SEO, SEM, whatever. But retention marketing as a discipline, as a subset of that sort of broader digital marketing discipline, it's not something a lot of people specialize in, is it?
Yeah, I fully agree. And retention marketing, it's not the first or the second thing in digital marketing that people decide to do. But I think in the recent years, it got more lights, this area. And fortunately now businesses, they start realizing that it's crucial and the lifetime value of their customers. So I think we get more and more attention, actually, and I'm happy for that.
No question about it. We'll get into, I guess, exactly how you do what you do and all that. But how did you first decide to specialize in this? You've had Budai Media for over 7 years now, specializing in retention marketing. You have been in digital marketing more broadly for longer than that, email marketing specialist, etc. But what drew you into the industry to begin with? What was the attraction to get into this digital and e-commerce space?
Yeah, so believe it or not, on university, I studied geology and I wanted to work in the oil industry. So I studied it for 6 years. So it wasn't just a one-day dream, let's say. It was 6 years. But I couldn't find a job with it. And I looked around everywhere. I was very young and I just found a platform called Upwork. So I just registered and I became a copywriter, an English sales copywriter. And the funny part is that my English wasn't perfect. It's still not perfect. And I decided to find proofreaders, native proofreaders, to proofread my copy. And I couldn't pay them. I just sent them good reviews and they proofread my copy for free. So I learned hiring actually pretty early. I had to hire someone to proofread my copy. But I started with copywriting. And then I niched down into e-commerce and email marketing because I really like the revenue share deals, to be honest. And the email marketing is an area where you can track your results very well. You can track your open rate, click rate, your revenue. And the same applies for e-commerce. The subset of these two fields was perfect for me. And I literally remember those days when I wrote a sales email, I sent it out in MailChimp, and I had a nice lunch with my girlfriend. It was a perfect word for a young entrepreneur or freelancer. After a while, I wanted to grow, and I realized that I love copywriting. I really think it's the core essence of marketing and psychology. But I wanted to manage people and manage a business. So I started hiring. Actually, firstly I hired other copywriters, but then I started hiring account managers, designers, people who understand email marketing. So we became a small agency. So we actually became an e-commerce email marketing agency. This was around 2018. And later on, I could see that this space became more saturated. And I think that process it's still happening. There are more than 5,000 partners of Klaviyo, for example, which is one of our favorite email tools. So I I thought what we could do, and let's level up, and started working with some 8 and 9 figure brands. And we could see that thinking in a bit more advanced and complex way, thinking about the lifetime value of the customers, different cohorts of customers, applying some analytical tools, and not just sending email campaigns, also using more channels like SMS marketing, push, loyalty programs, and really combining all of these. It's just a higher level thing, in my opinion. So we just found the name retention marketing for this, and that's what we focus on nowadays. Yeah.
And let's lay out the business case for retention marketing. And when we say retention marketing, I guess it's, first of all, let's define it. Second of all, let's lay out the business case for it, because I think the business case is pretty clear, at least according to the data. Retention marketing is basically, how can we market to our existing cohort of customers who have bought through us at least one time? How can we keep them as a customer for the longest term possible, with the highest average order value and with the highest customer lifetime value, meaning that over a window of time, 12, 24, 36 months, whatever our average lifetime of a customer is on average across all of our customers, how can we get them to buy with us more frequently and to spend more money with us each time they purchase? I guess when we think about retention marketing, it is, how do we keep them as a customer for as long as possible? And then how can we get them to spend more during that time that they're a customer with us? And then secondarily, I think there's a subset of retention marketing known as lifestyle marketing or life cycle marketing,
Yeah.
which means that obviously if I sell baby gear, for example, and I know that somebody buys something for a newborn, it's highly likely that I'm going to be able to market to them through each phase based on knowing, okay, cool, this cohort that has bought toddler or baby or newborn stuff, then I'm probably going to be able to market to them for the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years as this child goes through the growth phases of life. So I think there's life cycle marketing and then there's retention marketing, and they're very tightly linked together. But if we think about the business case for investments in this type of marketing and taking all this additional effort, doing all the effort for segmentation, etc., most data around the world, depending on who's doing the research, shows that only 20 to 30% of your customers will ever buy from you more than once. So this is the statistic, and this is a difficult statistic for most e-commerce merchants to swallow, given how much it costs to acquire a customer. And oftentimes, merchants will not be profitable on a customer until purchase number 2 plus. And so they maybe break even on purchase number 1 when you take into account CAC and all the other costs associated with acquiring a customer. And this whole thing about being able to get a customer to buy from you at least 2 times or more, it's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. And I would say it also depends on the industry, of course. So there are limitations. If you sell furniture or mattresses, it's very different scenario than when you sell coffee or vaping products. We can see for coffee and vaping, we can see 80%, 90% retention rate, and with just the nature of the industry. So you have to keep that in mind. The other thing I always say to business owners, and this doesn't depend on us too much, is product launches and having products that you can upsell and cross-sell. So that's the one which depends on the business owner and the product managers more than us. But the rest of it, it really depends on us. I would also highlight one more thing, which is less about retention. And it applies for mattress brands or those industries where your AOV is high and the same customer doesn't buy the product every month. We have a client who sells 3D printers for a couple $1,000. Obviously, you don't buy it every month. And referrals and word of mouth. So those things, you need really strong word of mouth and a very big volume of referrals. And it's not retention, but it's something similar, because you will generate new sales, but not from the same customers, but new customers. But you use your existing customer base. So it's not strictly retention marketing, but we always try to incentivize people for referrals, especially if it's not a product that is a good fit for, it's not a consumable product like coffee. So I would add these things besides the normal retention marketing tactics, which are email marketing, SMS, and loyalty programs, and all of those to get more returning customers. Yeah.
And as we start to dig a little bit more into the nitty gritty of retention marketing, what are the most common channels other than email?
Mm-hmm.
What are the most
Yeah.
common channels for you to do retention marketing through? And what are some of the most common, popular, successful strategies by leveraging these channels other than email to get customers to stay with you longer, buy with you more frequently, and spend more each time they buy?
Yeah, I would add SMS marketing, especially in the US, but it applies for Europe as well, maybe a bit less. We can see better results in the US and in Canada. And loyalty programs. However, loyalty programs, when I talk to small brands, I can see that they get convinced that loyalty program is something that they need. And then they install a software and it's really like a plug-in and play nowadays. But it doesn't mean that you have a good loyalty program. So they miss the strategic part and really putting the effort and the creativity into their loyalty programs. So if you want to have a loyalty program that doesn't work, then you just want to plug in the software and just add discounts if they buy more. That's not a very sexy loyalty program, I think. I can see some great examples with larger businesses, and I think we can learn from those a lot. And if you check out Nike or Adidas or all of these big brands, they have great loyalty programs. And I particularly like those incentivize you not to buy more, but they incentivize the customers to do a certain activity more, which ultimately leads to purchase. So, for example, Nike, they have their running app and they incentivize you to run more. And of course, if you run more, you will buy training shoes much more often. It comes from one comes from the other. But of course, it's a much more natural or much more human way to get a loyal customer. That I run more, I do more sports, I get more fit, so I need more shoes and sport equipment. So I really like those, and I think everyone can think about it. What activity you can incentivize so people they will buy more from you, and then staying at this example with Nike. So I think they have you can get points if you run, and you can have a competition. For example, actually, I love running and I use Strava. You can get all kinds of awards. This was your fastest time, your biggest climb to a mountain, and you ran more than your friends this week. So all kinds of competitions. And of course, in sports, people are competitive. I think they really understand the psychology, what drives people, what actions they can incentivize, which ultimately leads to more purchases. And everyone can think about it, like why people drink coffee. Maybe because they meet their friends and they have a coffee, or they want to work more effectively. But you can really find those actions that you can incentivize instead of just giving discounts for more purchases. So that's my favorite example when it comes to loyalty programs. I would also mention push notifications and apps. So apps are pretty similar. So nowadays everyone can make an app for relatively cheap amounts, but it doesn't mean that it's a good app. So you want to have good offers, and you want your customers to have a reason to use your app. So again, don't just make it about discounts, be creative. And I just talked to a brand here in Europe where I am now, and it's a close to 9-figure phone cases brand. And if you download their app, you can connect with some famous influencers. So these products are for young people, teenagers, people in their 20s, and they follow celebrities, young celebrities on TV. And you can connect with those celebrities, you can win different things, those people, and you can get a free t-shirt if you register to the app. So there are very nice incentives which are beyond just a monetary incentive. So I can definitely see that big brands, they mastered these, and that's one reason they have such a strong customer base. Yeah.
You raise a very good point, which is that when I work with, not necessarily work with, but when I become a customer of a smaller brand, maybe I haven't bought through Amazon, maybe I bought directly through their D2C website or whatever, I find that the smaller brands, they, as you rightly point out, most of them have some form of a loyalty program, right? Most of the time, I think that they are hemorrhaging money and they're giving away money for no benefit to them and no benefit to the customer because they have no differentiation in their loyalty program at all. They basically, it's spend, earn, spend. That's the model. And there's nothing special about that model. There's nothing unique about that model. And so if everybody is doing it and everybody is doing the same thing, then what that does is it means that there's zero differentiation. And if there's zero differentiation, then that's not actually an incentive for you to buy through them again and be loyal to them. Because if I can get the same incentive from 5 competitive retailers, then there's no additional benefit for me to work with one over the other. And so I think that many times brands are just giving away margin for no benefit to them and no tangible benefit for the customer. And so what is my sense is that they would be far better off creating a membership program instead where I paid $20, even a small token of a payment, $20 a year, $30 a year, $50 a year, whatever it might be. It feels like that the smaller brands have such a difficult time funding a good loyalty program because they're small. They're scrappy. They're fighting for every dollar. They're struggling to maintain decent margins. They're having to heavily discount, especially during BFCM, etc. And so they just don't have a lot of additional margin to play with to create a great loyalty program or even be creative with it because probably they've got a single marketer in the business that's wearing 5 different hats and they're doing retention marketing, they're doing SEO, they're doing SEM, they're doing everything. Or maybe they're trying to manage 3 agencies that are helping them with these different marketing activities. They just don't have a lot left over to do things properly. So it seems to me, and I'd love your thoughts on this, that it would be far better for these smaller brands to create a membership program that maybe has a cost component to it that creates that automatic stickiness. Because if I spend, when I pay for my Prime bill, because I buy Prime, I'm a Prime member, I'll probably always be a Prime member. But man, the tangible benefits of that are massive for me, especially here in Mexico, where, almost everything I buy gets free shipping. And this is even including up to furniture-sized deliveries. That's a massive benefit for me, right?
Wow.
I get my Prime Video. I get all these other benefits of being a Prime member. So I feel like for the small amount of money I spend, I get a massive return on my investment.
Yeah.
Now, it seems to me that if brands went down the membership route instead of the loyalty route, that they would then have the additional margin. They would have the additional money to make that valuable enough to really, truly differentiate themselves from their competitors.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I think it's not the way for every brand membership. So again, you want to find the key psychological triggers of your audience. And I really think for athletes and sport people, competition can be one. So if you can create a competition between them, that can be a good idea. But there are other industries and things where a membership can be a good idea. And again, I don't think it's true for every business, but for many it can be. And membership can be one. And I think everyone can come up with ideas. And I really like this example of your Prime, that you get the perceived value of these benefits are huge, but probably the actual cost for Amazon, it's not that big. So I think everyone can think about these. And in my agency, we have similar things that actually doesn't cost us money or just 10 minutes, 5 minutes of someone's time. But I really know that this can almost double the value of our service what we can charge. So I think people, they can really think about it. And it's not that easy to make it a subscription or membership every time. But if you can do it, that's perfect. So it becomes something recurring, which is just amazing for an e-commerce brand. So yeah, subscriptions and memberships. And yeah, we can touch subscriptions as well, by the way, because that's also a way of retention. If you think about it, subscription is retention itself. If somebody subscribes and they come back again and again, and especially if you sell consumable products, it can work really well, like coffee, beverages, food, baby food, pet products. But actually, I think everyone can try subscription at least once. I could see some examples where I thought it's just impossible to have a solid subscription program, and it worked out. So For example, there is a store in the UK and they sell white shirts and then socks, black socks, and just items, clothing items for people who work in the office. And they need a lot of shirts and socks and very clean and very simple clothing. They deliver it every month to people. And one pair of shirts, white shirts, next month it's black, and nothing crazy. But it worked out pretty well for them. So it means an ongoing monthly revenue. And I would have never thought that this could work because, I don't know, it's just clothing. You don't get a subscription for that. And it worked out well. I think everyone can try at least once a subscription program. It's not that difficult to install it on your store. Yeah.
And do you think that even for non-consumable brands, that it is always in their best interest to try to find a complementary product or products that they can sell on a subscription to beef up and bulk up that retention rate? So let's say, I don't know, let's say, like you said, let's say you sell mattresses or bedding or something like that. Maybe you have a 6 monthly subscription that sends out a new set of bed sheets every 6 months or something like that. It feels like almost every business can think of some sort of complementary product that has an element of consumability to it, so that maybe it's not their main product, maybe it's not their main line of products, but it feels like every brand can come up with something that they can sell on a subscription basis that just keeps the touch points, just keeps the lines of communication open, just keeps that trickle of revenue coming in with some level of consistency. It feels like every brand can do something around retention marketing, even if they don't necessarily sell a consumable product like grocery or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I like the bed sheets example. So you have a main product, let's say it's more expensive, then you can upsell or cross sell. It's more like a downsell actually, right? But it doesn't matter. So you can sell something that is cheaper and maybe you need those sheets more often actually than a mattress. That's one thing. So physical items. But if you don't have ideas, then actually you can add services as well, or a guarantee, which is also kind of service. So I think Samsonite bags, they have this lifetime guarantee, and that's why they are so expensive, which is just an interesting idea. But you can upsell a guarantee or some kind of service that we clean your
like an
product.
extended warranty, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we clean your product on a regular basis if you want, or you can play around with these. So it doesn't have to be a physical product. It can be a service, or we can go beyond this. So it can actually be a software. It's probably not for most small businesses, but you can think about some software solution and you can combine it with your physical product. I can see it with startups. Yeah.
Hey team, I have a big favor to ask you. Please pause this episode and send the link of this episode to someone you know that you think would enjoy this content. Really appreciate you spreading the word. This is how we grow. We're not a Joe Rogan. We don't have big, massive advertising budgets, but we absolutely want to grow. We want to get the learnings from all of these episodes out to as wide of an audience as possible, and we need your help to do it. Thank you. And now back to your listening. Interesting. And so for most smaller brands, let's say they're sub $10 million a year ARR, and they're looking at ways in which they can create a strong bond with their customers, to where their customers have a sense of obligation, reciprocity, loyalty, etc., whatever you want to call it. Retention marketing really ultimately is about loyalty at the end of the day. And it feels like consumers today are less loyal than ever before. I know, look at my own life, speaking for myself, apart from Amazon, I'm not really loyal to any retailer, to be perfectly honest. And the reason for that is because I think it's because very few brands, apart from one, I would say maximum of, say, 3 brands that I work with, a Nike, that I really enjoy Nike shoes, so I'm pretty committed and loyal to the Nike now. It doesn't mean I only have Nike shoes, but for sport shoes, I'm definitely pretty loyal to Nike, and I'll probably always have at least one pair of Nikes in the house that are ready to go running with, right? But apart from that, and a couple of other brands, and apart from, say, grocery, where I pretty consistently buy the same stuff over and over again
Mhm.
because I have the certain dishes that I like, certain ingredients that I like, etc., certain suppliers that I like. And so I go back in and I go into my grocery order and I just click reorder, add the whole previous order, and then maybe make some slight tweaks to my cart. But usually it's very consistent with the kind of stuff that I always like to have in the cupboard or in the fridge. But apart from that, I spend probably 90% of my retail spend or more is spent online. I really like shopping online. But
Yeah.
yet, even I don't have much loyalty. And so I'm trying to think psychologically, even for me, what a brand could do to get me to be more loyal to them. And I'm not even
Yeah.
quite sure what that is.
Yeah.
And so, what is your thought about brands trying to deal with customers like me that I don't even necessarily know what my psychological triggers are to generate and create loyalty myself. So if a brand asked me and they said, "Hey, we'd love to create a loyalty program or a membership program or something that would be massively beneficial to you, can we ask you 3 questions or 4 questions?" I'm not even sure how I would answer
Yeah.
genuinely to
Yeah.
give them ideas about how to make me more loyal to them, because oftentimes my purchasing is opportunistic or it's situational. And so it doesn't necessarily, like, for example, we're moving into a new townhouse. We're buying a new townhouse. So
Mhm.
right now, in the moment, I'm spending thousands of dollars because I didn't have anything. I've got to kit everything out from scratch, from beds to furniture to everything in the kitchen to small appliances to a barbecue to everything. And so this is very opportunistic or it's very situational. So it's unlikely I'm going to go and buy all this stuff again until maybe something wears out. So I think it's hard for brands to think of creative ways to create loyalty when so many purchases are opportunistic.
Yeah, 100%. And then we have more impression, more impulses in our lives nowadays than we've ever had, especially if you purchase online. Also, our attention span is shorter than ever. Yeah, but you talked about groceries, and I'm just curious, why do you buy from the same grocery shop again and again?
I buy from a specific grocery shop mainly because they carry items more consistently that I like than
Mm-hmm.
some of the other alternatives. So some of the
Okay.
other alternatives might be slightly cheaper. Some of
Yeah.
the alternatives might carry different products. But what I find is that the shopping experience on this particular supermarket's website tends to be better in general. And the ease of finding things, the ease of search, the ease of creating shopping lists, just the ease of use, generally speaking,
Mm-hmm.
they tend to be, their website experience tends to be just that little bit better. It might only be
Yeah.
5% better, but it's enough to be noticeable. And they tend to have the items that I like the most in stock the most frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very rare that I get into a situation where I go there and I'm frustrated because, oh, 2 or 3 of the things that I regularly buy, oh, they're out of stock of all the time. And I think this whole thing about having products that are popular in stock more frequently, we know that from all the data that this massively impacts conversion, because very rarely do people have a single item basket. It's very rare.
Yeah.
It's like an average of 1.5 items, or it's an average of 2 items or
Yeah.
2.2 items. It's very
Especially in a
rarely.
grocery shop, of
Yeah,
course.
it's very rarely that the
Mhm.
average basket size for a merchant is 1 unit of 1 item. And so we see that this out of stock thing is a real deterrent for conversion. It really is,
Yeah.
especially nowadays when, as you rightly point out, brands are trying to do things to incentivize people cross-selling, free shipping thresholds, etc. If I go to a website and I would normally qualify for a free shipping threshold because of the number of items in my cart, but all of a sudden half of those are out of stock, and now all of a sudden I don't qualify. I'm probably going to go to another website that has all those items in stock so that I can qualify for free shipping, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot of psychology wrapped up in this whole availability thing.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's a huge topic. Like, what drives loyalty? And a tough question. Actually, I wrote down 2 words in front of me on the screen. One is consistency, and the other one is convenience. And those two would be my answer. Of course, there are other triggers, like you mentioned, free shipping. If you get free shipping on a different site, you might go there. But I think these two are close to the fire, let's say. So consistency, the grocery shop, or I thought about other things like, why do I drink Coca-Cola? I don't drink soda, by the way. I just don't do, but I drink Coca-Cola Zero. I just like it. And every time the taste is the same and I just like it. Or why do I go to Starbucks or McDonald's when I'm in a less developed country, because I know the hygiene is good there and I get a not perfect coffee, but not terrible either. You get a certain consistent quality you can trust. I think that's one thing. And the other one is convenience, which can be in different ways. So one is the website. It's easy to use the website. I think Amazon is like that. And of course, shipping. So Amazon, they really mastered convenience in all kinds of ways. So the website, there is no friction there, easy to buy there, but also speed. So they are really fast. And I saw a stand-up comedian the other day in the US, and he was joking about Amazon speed, that you literally click the button, just raise your hand, and the product is there. So it was
So
really
accurate.
fun. Yeah, so yeah, it's just super fast. There is same day shipping, I think, in some areas. So convenience in different ways, like the website, the speed, the
I
guarantee
think
that you get.
communication
So
too. Like for me,
mhm,
communication with Amazon is very
yeah.
good. And here in Mexico, it's hit or miss if you're going to get your stuff from certain
Mhm,
places.
yeah,
Whereas with Amazon, you can be guaranteed you're going to get it. They may take a little bit longer than what they initially say, but they will always they'll update you daily. Okay, this has been
yeah,
delayed. It's instead of arriving on the 24th, okay, now it's going to arrive on the 27th. So they're very good about frequent and consistent updates. So at least
yeah,
I know with Amazon, if I order it, A, I'm 100% guaranteed I'm going to get it eventually. Two, I'm 100% guaranteed that they will update me if something goes wrong, or if there's a delay, or if there's a problem, or if they have to issue a refund, or give me the opportunity to request a refund, or whatever it is. And then I think the other thing that the one of the areas, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, one of the things that frustrates me about Amazon is
mhm,
their 30-day guarantee through Amazon, right? So it's a real problem where the warranty through Amazon is only 30 days, and then I have to go to the manufacturer or the supplier or the vendor after that to have them deal with any issues that arise after 30 days. That's the one thing that I think Amazon does very poorly, is their guarantee or their post-delivery warranty service. That is one thing where I think direct-to-consumer and retail
yeah,
aggregator brands actually have a chance to stand out. Because if they take the pain, if there's a problem, if they own the pain, if they take the pain of the return, if they take the
yeah,
pain of dealing with the manufacturer or the supplier or the vendor on your behalf, and they just send you out a new replacement or whatever it is. Because I have had a number of products. This one right here is an example that I bought off of Amazon. It's a set of earbuds, and they failed at like day 45. Amazon didn't want to know. They're like, sorry, we
mhm,
can't help you. You have to go to the vendor. Then when I went to the seller, then they put me in touch with the manufacturer, and then it was like 5 emails back and forth. I had to send the video of the
yeah,
product. Like it took me like a month. They finally in the end capitulated and sent me a replacement set. But the amount of pain I had to go through for an item
yeah,
that was sub what it seems to me that Amazon should be responsible for that. And if they said, look, we're going to be responsible for up to 12 months anywhere in the world, and we're going to just send you out the new item, we're going to send you a return pouch or whatever it is, it seems to me that one thing alone would skyrocket Amazon's business, but it creates an opening for other retailers to compete.
yeah. Yeah, actually, I wasn't aware of this 30-day guarantee. I never had an issue with a product beyond 30 days. I had my products stolen, for example, and but they were very helpful, the support, so we could figure this out. And yeah, but definitely this is an opportunity for D2C brands. And I don't know, I guess Amazon, they know their numbers pretty well, so probably they have a reason why they have only 30 days. Yeah, I'm sure they have a lot of data about it. But I mentioned Samsonite, so they have this lifetime guarantee, and that's a much better approach for the customer. And you can make it your one of your main benefits or in your marketing message that actually we have an extended guarantee or lifetime guarantee. It can work perfectly fine. Yeah, I think you are right that this is a big opportunity for D2C brands that they can use. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think also a no hassle or no haggle guarantee is actually a major selling point, because it's all fine
mhm,
and good to offer a great warranty, but if the customer has to jump through 100 hoops to
yeah,
get service under the warranty, and they have to pay for the return every time, even if it's a fault of the product or whatever it might be, then is the guarantee really a guarantee? It is, technically
yeah, yeah,
speaking, but I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on Reddit. I spend less time on X, And I see this all the time, people complaining about, hey, oh, this thing supposedly had a lifetime guarantee, but in order to qualify for it, I've got to fill out 2 A4 page sized forms with all this details. I basically got to give them my firstborn child to get them to honor the warranty. Then that's going to probably do more brand damage than just not offering the warranty to begin with. So I think brands have to be careful about that too.
Yeah, I had this occasion when I had to prove that I didn't do anything bad with the product. I used it properly. I had to prove it. And I used the F word. Like, I don't have time for this. Like, I don't want to prove that I used it properly. Like, this is just went wrong yesterday. So, yeah. And then actually, the other thing can be, I had this with my iPhone, my previous iPhone, that I took some photos under the water and in a pool. And actually, I lost my 2 cameras the next day. They claim that it's waterproof, but I think it's in their marketing message only. But if you check the small fonts, then you will see they don't say it. They have some
exclusion,
some legal text, and that's why they don't deal with it. So I had to buy. I just bought a new phone basically, but because that's how they market it, right? I think nowadays the new iPhones, the 15, the 14, they really fulfill this thing that they are waterproof. But like a couple years ago, it was more just like a marketing message, and I was the victim, one of the victims. Yeah. So just claims that you put out in your marketing message, you want to deliver on those, especially with expensive items.
Right. So if we had to boil it down, to its constituent components in terms of loyalty or retention marketing, you would say typically trust, convenience, speed, consistency. These seem to be like the core components, and it sounds so simplistic. I think it's simple to say, but hard to do. I think this is you have to operationalize every one of these things on a consistent basis in order to create that trust. Because trust, it's like Rome wasn't built in a day, neither is trust. And so it feels like you have to consistently execute over and over and over again, because word of mouth today cuts both ways. It can cut positively, but it can also cut negatively. And like I said, people will go on Reddit, they'll go on social media. You could get everything right 5 times out of 6, right? And that 6th time you make one mistake, and that customer will not necessarily say anything about the previous 5 successful deliveries or the 5 best purchases where you were the best price, or you had it in stock. They will talk about the one time that you didn't do everything correctly, because when they spend money with you, they expect you to do everything correctly, right? That's the natural expectation. So it doesn't stand out when you do everything right. What stands out is when you do something wrong. But let me ask you one final question in relation to this whole concept of loyalty or retention marketing. How important do you think that service recovery is to retention marketing? Because in my world, it's the most important thing. It's almost more important how a retailer or a supplier or a vendor deals with a problem that I have than doing everything right to begin with. Because I tell you, again, my expectation is everything's going to go right. When I spend money with a brand, my expectation is everything's going to go right. And when it goes wrong, that is an opportunity for them to stand out in my mind as a differentiated retailer or supplier. If they handle that perfectly, if they make it easy, if they just basically they respond quickly to my concern, if they basically show empathy for the challenge and the problem, and they make it seamless for me to deal with the issue or get up and running or fix a software or whatever it is, that will stand out in my mind way more than just doing everything right to begin with. So how important do you think service recovery is to the retention marketing model?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, in my agency with our team, we have this saying that when you screw up and you have your first mistake with a client, then that's the perfect opportunity to make that relationship. When things go well, then of course they are happy. But then when things go wrong, then that's the opportunity. That's really like a two-way. You can go on one way, you just screw up everything and they just leave as a client, or you manage it properly and then you try to help, even if sometimes you just cannot help. There is something that you just
out of your control, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like a couple of weeks ago we had a software issue and the client wanted to leave because they didn't understand it's a software issue, but we explained this to them, and actually they were really grateful, and they left a perfect review for us, and they are still a client. So these things happen. That's why you need very solid staff who can manage these situations. They don't get stressed and they know what to do. Of course, you need to teach them for the SOPs as well, but same applies for all businesses. So I think these cases are always an opportunity to strengthen the relationship with your customers. And for example, I had this with Amazon, I had this with Zappos when I ordered shoes, and all of these companies, they excelled in these difficult situations. And I think as a business owner or manager, you want to train your people with the right SOPs, how to manage these situations, how not to get too emotional about it or too stressed, how to stay calm, how to speak to these sometimes angry people. And then if they manage these situations well, then they will be actually really happy, and those will be your best customers, and they will give you a good word of mouth. So it's super important. It's something crucial, and I think many businesses, they don't pay enough attention to it. They let the customers leave, or they got angry, but it's only 2% of customer, doesn't matter. But that 2% could be your best customer, and they could give you the most referrals if you manage those well. I think we cannot overemphasize the importance of managing these situations well. Yeah.
I think also enabling, empowering, and educating your customer service or customer success teams is really important, because they might have the right attitude, but if you're not empowering them within certain authority levels to be able to replace products, or be able to give a store credit, or to be able to give some extra loyalty credit, or if you are not empowered with the tools to be able to make things right by the customer, then no matter what the attitude is of the customer service representative, they might have the greatest attitude in the world, but if they're not empowered to make things right, then it doesn't really matter. You can basically very politely tell a customer to fuck off, right? And they still get the sense that you told them to fuck off, just very politely.
That's true.
And so at the end of the day, you still have to empower them. And then there's one final thing I'd say here. So I recently bought I did 3 days worth of research on which set of stainless steel cookware to buy for my kitchen. Which brand, what grade of stainless steel was it, what different materials were involved in the base of the product, and whether they had glass lids, steel lids. I did tons and tons of research. I read tons of reviews. I spent because my idea was, if I'm going to buy this set and I'm going to spend this much money, I want it to be like a lifetime, or at least I want this to last for a very long time. I want to spend a good amount of money, but I want it to be very high quality so that I can trust this kitchenware for a very long time. I only want to buy it once, basically. And so I settled on this brand. It's Tramontina. They're a Brazilian brand. They have great ratings, great reviews. Their product looks amazing. And I compared buying direct through their D2C website versus buying through Amazon, and they had some specials on their website that they did not offer through Amazon. So they had some special promotions, some special bundles, some special kits that you could buy only through their D2C store. So I think differentiating by offering unique bundles and kits and packages and products uniquely through your D2C website, or basically differentiating by channel, differentiating your offer by channel, I think is really important for a start off. I love your thought on that. 2, when I emailed them, because one of their product ranges, I thought it came with glass lids, but in the photos, it showed steel lids, but in the description, it said glass lids. And so I emailed them and I said, does this set come with glass lids like it says in the description, or does it come with steel lids like what are in the photograph? And they said, no, it comes with steel lids. And I was like, I really want the product with glass lids, but they had this package on sale. And so I was like, okay, I'll compromise, because it was like a 50% off deal if you bought this package. Okay, I'll suffer through having steel lids. I went ahead, I bought it, and then it came and it had glass lids. And so I was pleasantly surprised, but I was disappointed. They almost missed out on the sale. They almost missed out on the sale because the customer service person that responded to my email said the wrong thing. So I think making sure that they are fully educated on your product, on the SKUs, on the ranges, on the promotions that you are running at any given point in time. I was pleasantly surprised when I got it, but it almost made me not convert. And I think A, being empowered to make things right, but B, being empowered with the right information to be able to answer customers, those two things are massively important to me.
Yeah. First of all, I really like your thought on the different offers bundles on the D2C side, because I talk to many e-commerce business owners who complain about Amazon, or they just don't go to Amazon. And I don't think either is the right solution. I think Amazon can be complementary, but on the D2C side, you want to do something more. You want to have bundles, all of that. And the other thing is, the customer support, they must be educated about their products. And I think many brands actually, they could make a big difference compared to their competitors if they start doing that. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of, maybe if the book of the founder of Zappos.
Oh, yes.
What was the title? I forgot.
Yeah, I know exactly. I've actually read this book. I can't remember. Something Happiness?
Yeah,
Solving
yeah.
Happiness or something like that. I
Delivering
can't remember
happiness.
exactly what the name is, but it's a great book.
Yeah, and the founder in Zappos, they did it. And I think many good companies, they still do this, that the founder and new hires, they sit down at least a couple hours a month and they talk to customers, they chat with customers, and they really feel their pain, and they see different scenarios. And then those become much better managers, and they can teach their customer support to be much better. And also, I'm just not a fan of outsourced customer teams, which is very common nowadays. So, yeah.
It is. Listen, this has been a fascinating conversation about an area that I am truly not an expert, apart from being a customer of many online brands and knowing what I like and what I don't like, and the things that I maybe subconsciously make me loyal, even if I'm not aware of it consciously. And I think it is, as you rightly point out, I think it's a lot of those subconscious psychological triggers that create the loyalty. It's not necessarily anything overt, or it's not anything. I'm a big fan of show, don't tell, or don't say. And I'm a big fan of, hey, look, it's all fine and good to have all these warranties and conversion banners and promises and all that sort of stuff on a website. But at the end of the day, all that matters is what your execution is. Do you live up? Do you execute on your brand promises, or don't you? Are you committed to delivering what you say you are going to deliver, or aren't you? And I guess at the end of the day, that's what we're saying here, is that no matter what your brand promise is, doesn't matter whether it's a low touch, low promise brand, or a high touch, high promise brand, whatever that is, just live up to what you say. You just have credibility. Just do what you say you will do. And it feels like that. What is the saying? Honesty is the best policy. Just be freaking honest, and you will probably have high loyalty to your brand.
Yeah, 100%. And today we didn't talk much about it, but honesty, transparency, I think those are other things which make people stick to your brand. So yeah, the voice of the brand. And this transitions towards branding, and consistency, convenience can be part of your branding. Just think about Amazon or Coca-Cola, how you communicate as a brand, transparency, honesty, those are also crucial. And I think most buyers, they still stick to convenience, consistency, speed. But if they like your tone of voice, that's also a huge factor. They will buy from that brand, and they pay even that premium price in many cases.
The saying is true. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah.
Listen, Daniel, this has been a fantastic conversation. You're clearly an expert in your field. I've really enjoyed our conversation. If people want to get a hold of you and learn more, I'll drop a link to your LinkedIn profile and your website in the show notes. Other than that, how do you like people to get a hold of you and chat all things retention marketing?
Yeah, amazing. I think those are the main channels. Also, you can check out my YouTube channel. Actually, I put quite much effort into YouTube and content nowadays. And you can find me on these channels, and just feel free to message me. And I hope we can have some great conversations just like today.
Love it. Now, as we come down to the end of our time together, this is where I get to flip the script. I get to hand the microphone over to my guest, let them ask me one question. Any question they like, can be personal or professional. Daniel Budai from Budai Media, what is your question for me today?
Oh, wow. That's a great opportunity. So, only one question, right?
Yeah, only one. Okay, maybe two. I'll let you away with two.
Yeah, I'm really curious. How come that you are in Mexico? You told me you are in Mexico. It can be unprofessional or like
Yeah,
more personal,
personal,
right?
sure.
So I'm curious, how did you end up in Mexico and what are your thoughts? Actually, I just started learning Spanish 3 weeks ago. I learn it every day, almost an hour, and I really enjoy it. I really like Spanish.
Ah, todo bien, todo bien. Yes, yeah, there's quite a few reasons. I grew up in Southern California. I grew up close to the Mexican border. I traveled to Mexico a number of times when I was younger. I left California in my early 20s, moved to New Zealand, lived in New Zealand for almost 30 years, lived there for 28 years. My wife is a Kiwi, a New Zealander. My brother-in-law is a Kiwi. My grandfather was a Kiwi, so I definitely have a lot of ties to New Zealand. Started my businesses in New Zealand. And then there was a number of reasons why we decided to move to Mexico a year and a half ago. Probably the deciding factor was how New Zealand handled COVID. It was a prison country. I don't know if you
Yeah,
know how New Zealand handled COVID, but we were locked down for basically 3 years.
heard
And
about and Australia as well, quite
yeah,
similar.
Australia and New Zealand were just, through my lens, just tyrannical
Yeah,
in the way that they handled
mhm,
COVID. And my wife and I are both big travelers, and we said
yeah,
never again. We're never going to put ourselves in the
mhm,
vulnerable position of not being able to travel. And when you live on an island, it's very easy for them to prevent you from leaving the country, and or at the very least coming back into the country. And so we just felt that we wanted to get out, we wanted to travel, we wanted to be free again, and we wanted to move to a freer country than New Zealand. Also, a lot of my clients are in North America. The business opportunities in this industry in North America are very good.
yeah,
Easy access to the States from Mexico. Mexico has very friendly immigration policies. The cost of living
mhm,
is much lower here than in New Zealand.
yeah.
The food, the culture, the weather, the
It's like the
sights
US in terms of cost of living, or maybe a bit cheaper. I'm
are
not
significantly cheaper than the
okay.
United States, and
Okay.
significantly cheaper than we're in the process of buying a townhouse here in Mexico, and it's about one fifth or one sixth the cost of an equivalent townhouse in New Zealand.
Yeah,
Significantly less expensive than New Zealand. Housing, utilities, and services are much cheaper in Mexico
yeah,
than New Zealand, but almost everything else is a similar price. So
got
electronics
it.
are a similar price, vehicles are a similar
Yeah,
price,
yeah.
things that you buy on Amazon, similar price, but
Mhm,
housing is significantly cheaper. And of course, because housing is
yeah,
one of your biggest expenses,
it
if it's
is.
significantly cheaper, then your cost of living is significantly cheaper.
Yeah, yeah.
So lots of reasons Mexico, but for us, it's the cost of living, the culture, the weather. You know, New Zealand is a very cold, wet country, and it's very remote. Mexico is a warm, temperate climate, and
Kinda.
it's close to the big market of the United States, so I can go there for conferences and events and
Yeah,
activities and things like that. And I still have some family left in the US too, so it's convenient and it's easy for us. So
yeah,
it was a good fit for us.
makes sense. Yeah. We have some clients in Australia and New Zealand actually, and I have to wake up early to talk to them. So, but those are great guys. I really like working with them. Yeah. And my other question would be about so more e-commerce related. So during COVID, I think everyone or most businesses, most people in e-commerce, we could see a huge uplift in e-commerce. Everyone went online. And then I think last year we could see a slowdown. So things got back to normal and retail got stronger. And I'm curious, how do you see the state of e-commerce now? And let's say, what do you expect in the next 6, 12 months? What can you see and expect?
Yeah, you're 100% spot on. Because I was still running an agency at the time that COVID hit, and
Hmm.
there was that initial lull where everybody went, "Oh my God, we
Yeah.
think the economy is going to die," and they put all the projects on hold. And then within a month or 2 months, then everything was back on again, and it was
Yeah.
like trying to drink. It was like trying to drink out of a fire hose. It was so busy during those
Yeah.
first year of COVID. It was crazy. And the TAM just exploded. The online TAM just exploded. And so everybody working in our industry was just, it was mental. It was so busy and it was so crazy. The demand was through the roof, both by the consumer and, of course, all the brands trying to service them. But you're right, the TAM has collapsed now, and we've gone much more back to the median, and it's still up and to the right, but it's not like a hockey
Yeah.
stick anymore.
Yeah.
And so a lot of brands, a lot of the COVID-born brands have died now because the
Mhm.
TAM went away and they didn't build any loyalty, and they basically bought very price-sensitive, discount-sensitive customers, and those customers don't create a level of loyalty. They don't create sustainability in your business. And so you're right. I think the industry is hurting. I think for me personally, I've been a little bit more insulated from the downturn in the retail e-commerce TAM
Mhm.
because over the last 2 to 3 years, I've doubled down on B2B e-commerce, and I've specialized very deeply in B2B e-commerce. And that, because B2B e-commerce is 5, 10, 15 years behind the maturity level of D2C and B2C e-commerce, there's
Is
so
it, by
much
the way? Do you
opportunity there.
think so? That's interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's catching up fast, and COVID shone a light on just how much these B2B brands were Luddites. And in many cases, maybe they did EDI, and maybe they did punch out or e-procurement, but they didn't do self-service e-commerce. And so many B2B brands today still don't have self-service e-commerce. Manufacturers, wholesalers, and distributors don't have an e-commerce website. Maybe they have a brochure website, or maybe they have a gated experience where you can download a PDF of a catalog or whatever, but they don't offer self-service e-commerce. So that opportunity, and all the data is showing that the opportunity in B2B e-commerce for the next decade is 8 or 9 or 10 times what the opportunity is in D2C and B2C, because B2C and D2C is very mature. That's the reality. But it's table stakes. It would be very rare that you would start up a new brand or business today in the B2C or D2C world and not do e-commerce. It would be unheard of. Whereas in the B2B world, it's still very common. And so we have a lot of work to do in the B2B world. So I think that's where the opportunity is biggest right now.
Yeah, that's super interesting to hear. We've also had an influx of more and more B2B e-commerce brands or D2C brands who want to start a B2B side, or they already have it, but it's not very strong. They want to focus more on that wholesaler. So actually, that's a great input. And yeah, I haven't put much effort into digging the data there, but that's something I will open up more for sure. Yeah, B2B e-commerce.
Awesome. Daniel, it's been a pleasure. It's been a really fantastic conversation. I appreciate your time. Can't wait to speak to you again soon. If you'd like to get mentored by Jason for free, head over to greenwoodconsulting.net, scroll to the bottom of the page, and click Get Mentored by Jason.